There we go. Okay, so good morning, guys. Welcome to math, your first topic class of math for 7th grade, pre-algebra. So this is how we're going to be working in math. You are going to be leaving an empty space at the top of your page always, because we will be placing the name of the topic at the very, very end, okay? And we're going to say at the end, what's the name of the topic? We're going to work everything that we need to work. And at the end, we write the topic's name. So leave the space in there. And on the other corner of your notebook, on the right corner, you will always write the date, okay? In that way, you will be able to know if we have a classwork or not, even on that date, okay? So we're going to be working, with these exercises over here in a bit. But first, before we work on that, we're going to give some rules or things that we need to work with, okay? So we have first the rules of signs. After the rules of signs, we are going to work with another kind of rules, okay? We're gonna work with the rules of exponents. And right now we're just working with numbers. After that, we're gonna add variables and we're gonna continue that way, increasing the information of the topics, okay? So the first thing is the rules of signs, okay? We have two different rules. One that's when we are adding or subtracting, and one when we are multiplying or dividing. So this will be the first rule, and this is going to be the second rule. But these rules also divide into two, okay? And which ones are they? When we're having same signs or when we have different signs. Okay, so it says in here, same signs, we add and we keep the sign. Okay, so this is what we learned in elementary, like normal additions. Now, remember, all of this, you're supposed to have it in your notebook. So you're supposed to be taking notes of what you have on screen, okay? So same signs, we add and we keep the sign. They taught us in elementary school that we could have, for example, 6 plus 2. And they told us that 6 plus 2, if we have 6 and we add 2, then my final answer is going to be how much? Six plus 2? Exactly, 8. And this is what they taught us in elementary. They said 6 plus 2, 8. They didn't say that this was a positive number and this was a positive number. And therefore, if they're both positive, my answer is going to be positive. They didn't tell us that way. They just say, okay, let's add. We got 6 apples and they give us 2. How many apples we got? 8. But if we do that, having that in mind, we can say that -3 minus 2 is an easy exercise as well. They both have the same signs. So I add and I keep the sign. So 3 plus 2, that is
5.
5. But since both of them are negative, this is
-5. -5.
Because the same signs, I add and I keep the sign. You need to learn this rules, these 4 rules, let's say, like you learn your name. The same way that you learn your name, like that, you need to know it, okay? Like if I say Valerie, Valerie knows that I'm talking to her. So that same way, you need to know that, oh, they have same signs, I add and I keep the sign, okay? You need to know it. Now, different signs, you subtract and you keep the sign at the greatest number. They showed us in elementary that if we have, for example, 10 minus 3, that will give us how much?
7.
We know that, right? So if I have 10 and I eliminate 3, then I got 7. That's easy. They showed us that in elementary school. They didn't tell us that it was the same thing if I said -8 plus, let's say 4. It didn't say that it's exactly the same thing. We just relocated the numbers. Okay, the positive came to the second place and the negative came on the other side. It didn't tell us that we were just relocating the number. Okay, Ariadna, what's your second name?
Siloe.
Siloe. Okay, so if I say Siloe Ariadna, would you know that I'm talking to you? Even though I just moved the name around, would you know that I was talking to you? Yeah, right. Because it is basically the same thing. We're just relocating. Okay, so in this case, different numbers, we subtract and we keep the sign of the greatest number. So 8 minus 4, that gives us 4. And what number is greater? 8. And 8 has a negative sign. So this is negative 4. Basically the same thing, okay? Or if it was the other way around, if I had a smaller number at the beginning, still I would subtract and keep the sign of the greatest number, okay? So this is the first two rules that come from the very first one, which is rules of signs for additions and subtractions. Now we're going to see the second rule, which will be the rules of signs for multiplying and dividing. Okay, that's what we're going to see right now. And in here, we're not talking about keeping signs or not. We're talking about results, okay? And they say same signs, the result will be positive. Also, they taught us this, half of it in elementary school. For example, if I say 4 times 5, I'm not using, from now on, guys, I'm not using this multiplication sign, that little X. We're not going to use it, okay? At least not when I'm writing the exercise. Why? Because sometimes when we get to include the variables, you might get confused the multiplication sign with the variable X, because variable X is the one that we use the most. So I'm not using that. I'm either using the parentheses or a little dot, okay? That's what we're using for multiplication. Either the parentheses or a little dot, okay? So 4 times 5. They taught us the multiplication, all of the multiplications, like in 3rd grade. So how much is 4 times 5?
20.
20. And you know that, and you can say, means that's 20. That's easy peasy. Okay, but they didn't tell you this is positive, this is positive, therefore they have both the same sign. My answer will be positive. They didn't tell you that. So when you got to see, for example, -3 multiplied by -2, you were like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? And it's exactly the same signs. Negative times negative, it says that it will give you a positive result. So 3 times 2, 6, because negative, it is positive. Same signs, my result is positive. So positive times positive, positive, negative times negative, positive. Okay, so we're going to do it like that. Same signs, result will be positive. Over here it was same signs, you add and you keep the sign. For multiplication and division, also for division, if this examples are multiplication, but we're going to give an example of division over here. So it will be the same thing. Same signs, my answer is positive. Now, next part, it says different signs, my result will be negative. This is a new part, something that they didn't teach us in elementary. They didn't teach us different signs, okay? So for multiplications, if I have, for example, 6 times -4. Different signs. The 6 has an invisible positive and the 4 has a negative sign. So positive times negative, that will be negative because they're different signs, okay? One is positive, one is negative. My answer will be negative. Negative what? I just go ahead and multiply normal. So 6 times 4?
24.
24. So it is negative 24 because they're different signs. Let's do a division, okay? Let's say that we have, for example, negative 22 divided by positive 11. Same thing. We got different signs. The 22 is negative, the 11 is positive. Negative times positive, that will be negative because they have different signs. Okay, so that will be negative 22 divided by 11.
2.
Negative 2. Correct. So this is really important. From now on, also, divisions, usually we're going to have it as a fraction, okay? So for multiplications, it's either a parenthesis or a little dot. And for division, it will mostly be as a fraction, okay? Not with this division sign. Sometimes we're going to use a division sign. Sometimes we are not, okay? Okie dokie. Remember, everything that's in letter right now, you can write it in ink. But the numbers, all the mathematical problems that you have here, it's supposed to be in pencil. Now, for when I'm explaining the topic, and only when I'm explaining the topic, you can write the exercises given on the screen in ink as well, just like to follow the procedure, okay? So let's go one more time and say, if we got positive times positive, that will give me positive. If I have negative times negative, since they're also same sign, you're giving me positive as well. Okay, same signs, positive result. If I have different signs, like positive times negative, or negative times positive, they will give me a negative result, okay? So you need to learn this, and you need to be sure that you're not mistaken the multiplications with the additions or subtractions, okay? The multiplication and division with the additions or subtractions. And this also applies for divisions, okay? Write in another color. So if you have positive over positive, your answer is going to be positive. If you have negative over negative, your answer is also going to be positive. If you got a positive over a negative, then your answer is going to be negative. And if you have a negative over a positive, your answer is also going to be negative. Okay, so this is the same thing as what I wrote in here, okay? Same signs, result is positive. Different signs, results are negative, okay? So it applies for multiplications and divisions. For additions or subtractions, additions, subtractions, same signs, you add and you keep the sign. Different signs, you subtract and you keep the sign of the greatest number, okay? Of the bigger number. And that's basically the first rules of signs, or the rules of signs. And this is something that you need to manage like in the tip of your head, okay? So you need to realize really fast the rules of signs. Questions so far? We good. Everything's clear as water. Okay, so after this, we're going to continue with other rules, okay? Right now, and tomorrow's class, tomorrow's class, we're going to work with these exercises that are over here. I'm not placing the name of the topic just yet, okay? Until we work this part, okay? Because there's something else that I need to tell you tomorrow before we solve these exercises. And we're gonna solve these exercises in our notebook. And no, this will not be a classwork. This week, you're going to have a homework, okay? And in homeworks, you're going to have as well the date that I'm giving you the homework, that I'm assigning that classwork, okay? That's why it is important for you to place the date. So you know what date it was when it was given to you. And also right now, we're not placing the name, we're placing it always at the very end of the class. And it's not we finished the class, miss, give us a name. No, at the end of the topic, okay, I'm going to give you the name. If it takes it 3 days, then 3 days it is. And until the 3rd day, I'm going to give you the topic's name. After that, we're going to see the rules of exponents. Okay, all of this, you saw us here. So all of this, you're supposed to manage really good. Okay? Anyone has any question? No? Okie dokie then. This is the first part of our first topic.